Good morning, everybody. It is Friday, the last day of the Radiante Let Live Festival. What an incredible 8 days we have had. And I am here live with our beautiful author, Laura Doe Harris. Good morning, Laura Doe.
Good morning, Leanne. How lovely to be here.
So excited to have you and really excited to hear about your presentation today. You always blow my mind with your information, and I'm just going to introduce Laura Doe from her biography in the Radiante Visionary Women Igniting the Light in Others book. Laura Doe is an award-winning somatic sexologist, comedian, and singer-songwriter. Using humor, song, and science, she helps people reconnect with the wisdom of their bodies and realize their full pleasure potential. In 2008, she founded the University and has presented the workshops in her adult sex ed curriculum worldwide. With a rich toolkit of practical, effective techniques, she helps her coaching clients to overcome barriers of shame, confidence, or simply misinformation. To educate effectively and without embarrassment about sexual anatomy in people with vulvas, Laura Doe created the Vulvalicious cushions. I love them, Laura Doe. Beautiful, anatomically accurate fabric sculptures. These cushions are used by educators. What is vulva? You're going to have to tell me what the word is, Laura Doe.
Vulvulationaries.
Oh,
I made up words.
I love that. That really stumped me, that one. And sexology practitioner trainings all over the world. Laura Doe's other projects include Yonalates. Is that another one you've made up? Oh, I love it. You're so creative. A fun program of pelvic floor exercises performed to specially composed squeeze along music, and her comic cabaret. Oh my goodness. Vaudeville of the vulva?
You got it. That's correct.
Which educates while it entertains. She is currently the Vice President of the Somatic Sexologists Professional Association, SSEAA. And I just want to add that Laura Doe runs the most hilarious and well done programs with her sexual teachings, and you're just so talented at it, Laura Doe. She actually gifted us authors one of her DVDs, and I think that's all we talked about in the group for the next week or so. We were all obsessed with Laura Doe's videos and teachings, and just how talented she is, and how you put a very different creative spin on everything, and the information that you present is we're all learning things and discussing what you're teaching, and the way you teach it is very unique and different and very engaging. So take it away, Laura Doe.
Thank you so much, Leanne. What a lovely introduction. So yes, I'm going to just do the little bit of tech that's needed so I can share my screen. And we will see, then I can show you a little bit of my presentation. Let's see, there we go. So welcome everybody. Welcome if you're joining us live, welcome if you're joining us on the replay. I'm delighted to be here amongst all the other lovely Radiant authors to share my speciality, which is around pleasure. Now, you might be thinking, oh, sexologist, how on earth has this got anything to do with my business life and my productivity and so on? And yes, I'm not going to be sharing intimate sexual secrets in this presentation, but I'm going to be sharing some really useful information about how important pleasure is in respect to our overall well-being, but also focused at business women, because there's some specific things about being a woman and being a woman in business that feel really important for us to know. So although at the end I will be speaking a little bit about my speciality, which is our physical experience of pleasure during intimacy and erotic encounters, even just with ourselves, the bulk of this presentation is really focused on practical tools that you can use to incorporate more pleasure in your working and non-working days. Because it has been scientifically proven that pleasure can relieve stress, reduce pain, and boost your immune system. And rather than being something to look forward to outside of working hours, little pleasure breaks during the day can boost your motivation, increase your productivity, and create an environment for creative inspiration. So rather than being something extra, I'm going to recommend that you make them a priority. So this presentation has got plenty of feel-good facts and pleasurable possibilities, and I'm going to give you some of the latest research on the topic of pleasure, and a smorgasbord of delicious non-fattening tips for boosting your daily pleasure quotient. So I am the bearer of excellent news. Feeling good is good for you. And that's actually something I want to address first up, because I think people tend to think of pleasure as an add-on, as a separate thing, not something that they should really involve themselves in or seek out as a focus of our attention. So I want you to consider for a moment where do you fit pleasure as in your hierarchy of needs, as it were? Is it something that you really focus your attention on, or is it maybe something that you put to the bottom of the pile of what's important for you? So just think about that for a moment. And I don't know if anyone's got any comments about how they relate to pleasure in terms of prioritizing it. Have you got something, Leanne, to say on that topic?
Yeah, well, I think it's priority, because it just puts us in a high vibrational state, and it's like life's meant to be lived, full out. That's my idea of living full out. So it's right up there.
Yes. But it has had a bad rap. People think of pleasure as selfish or greedy or hedonistic. So I invite you to actually explore whether there's any negative thoughts in your mind about pleasure, and consider changing that, because the science tells us that if we want to be healthy, it's in our very best interests to make pleasure a priority. And I want to speak about why. So to get into the why, we need to understand a little bit more about how our bodies function and how stress affects us. So these three hormones share the credit or blame for most of the changes that are caused by stress in the body. And it's the mechanism of how the body releases these hormones that explains why we can't be stressed and happy and content at the same time. So I'm going to give you a very brief anatomy nervous system lesson, because our autonomic nerve, our nervous system is composed of the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. And the peripheral nervous system is both the somatic, that's the nervous system that deals with managing our movements voluntarily, and the autonomic nervous system. And this is the part of us that controls our heart, the smooth muscle around our organs, our glands, and it's involuntary. We don't have conscious control over our autonomic nervous system. And there's two branches of the autonomic nervous system which send messages to and from the brain along different pathways. And those are called the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. And these two branches cause the release of very different chemicals governing very different and opposing physiological and emotional states. So the sympathetic is the fight or flight system. It upregulates the body to prepare it to fight or flee to safety when in danger. It's the part of the nervous system that's activated when the tiger walks out of the jungle and you know you have to do something very quickly. The parasympathetic nervous system is the part of us that down-regulates the body and returns it to its ability to digest, rest, repair. And the parasympathetic pathways, on the whole, calm the heart rate, lower the blood pressure, and support digestion, etc. Now, in the normal day, we are naturally designed to move between these two systems in quite a rhythmic way. These are the cycles are called ultradian rhythms, and you may well be familiar with them. So normally we actually go into a cycle at and we're all different how our cycles go, but we have cycles of going into high top performance state, and they usually last for about 90 minutes, as you can see on the diagram. And then we go down into a recovery space. And in an ideal world, we will be changing our focus from high level focus to more diffuse focus, more relaxation activities. And these rhythms work differently for different people, as in the timing is different for different people. But if you think carefully at your day, you will probably note that there are times when you're really on and times when you feel like you need to relax. The other challenge about today's fast-paced world is that our overstimulated lifestyles tend to lead to really chronic stress. We tend to be actually a bit addicted to being in that sympathetic nervous system dominated space. So we've got to do, we've got to run, we've got to achieve. And then things like caffeine and all of the media and smartphones and our busy lifestyles all upregulate us as well. So our bodies are tending to forget about that down regulation, and that is when we start to get beyond stress and into a disease cycle. People have known that research has told us that stress causes disease since the mid-1900s. And in fact, they say that 80% or more of diseases have been shown to be stress related. Now, for women, it's particularly important that we regulate our stress because we produce twice as much cortisol as men do. And we really need to create a way of working that allows our bodies periods of down-regulating, cortisol-reducing parasympathetic time. So how do we activate our parasympathetic nervous system? You've probably guessed it, pleasure. Every experience of pleasure activates your immune system, providing a measurable and enduring boost to your body's natural defenses. A single moment of pleasure has been shown to be able to boost your immune response for up to 6 hours. But we don't want to just be at the whim of pleasure showing up in our life. It doesn't just happen to us, and nor does it not happen to us. We are able to take charge and actively choose to cultivate pleasure in our lives and in our relationships. So what I want to speak about today is what we can do to inject more pleasure into our days. Laughter is one of the best medicines. The act of laughter instantly lowers your blood pressure for hypertensive persons, stimulates the brain, expands and enriches the blood vessels with oxygen, and sends more blood racing to the extremities. It reduces the levels of stress hormones in the body and increases the happiness hormone oxytocin, and triggers a spike in immune boosting antibodies. And sustained laughter that they show can gradually increase the level of cytokine, I think I've said that right, in the blood, which is a white blood cell enhancer, which builds antibodies and helps to prevent illness. Not only is it really, really good for your well-being, it's a form of stationary jogging, if you like. It has the same health benefits as vigorous aerobic exercise and stimulates the heart and blood circulation. They say that 20 seconds of heavy laughter is equal to 3 minutes of hard rowing and burns up 400 calories per hour.
Wow.
And the final, it's worth doing, doesn't it?
It is.
And a daily dose of laughter, they also say, exercises 15 different facial muscles. So it's anti-aging and beats any antioxidant pill on the market. Jacine's amazing presentation was so powerful because it spoke about all of the beautiful botanicals that she uses in her beautiful products. Yes. But I want to talk to her about laughter as an adjunct to her beauty routines. So laughter. All right. So how are we going to find laughter in our life? Well, the great thing about laughter is that you don't actually even have to find something funny to laugh at. And you may have heard of a thing called laughter meditation, which has become very popular. And in a laughter meditation, all you do is just start laughing. So just for fun, let's have a go. I'll show you how.
I'm good at this. And what you'll find is that if you just start laughing, it becomes funny. And especially if you're laughing with people,
and you'd see other people laughing, and the more you watch people laughing, there's a beautiful YouTube clip somewhere where some guy's reading something on a subway, and he starts laughing and laughing and laughing, and by the end of the clip, the whole of the subway is everybody's laughing, because it's contagious.
Yeah.
Even smiling actually is helpful. So just smiling to people as you go past them helps to lift your mood, smiling to your office workers. So this is my first tip of how to harness the power of pleasure, and it's to take regular laughter breaks. And if laughing for absolutely no reason doesn't appeal to you, then find YouTube channels that you can have a quick little laugh at. Bring a joke book into your workplace so you can have a little look at it. Find just humor comedians and other humorous folk that you can tune into for a short laughter break as you go into a feeling of a slight slump in your productivity day. Tip number 2 is breathe. The breath is our best tool to regulate the nervous system, especially the autonomic nervous system, where we don't have conscious control of it. By breathing in particular ways, we can choose whether we're more sympathetically dominated or more parasympathetically dominated. And deep, long out breaths with a sigh, with an actual spoken sigh, so like, actually encourages the movement of the smooth muscles in the body and aids digestion and lowers blood pressure. It brings us into our parasympathetic nervous system. So we could either choose to have a nice little breath break, maybe go to a window or go outside and do some lovely inhalations. Shorter inhalations are helpful, and longer exhalations if we want to reduce our stress levels. Or we could use some sort of lovely smell that we like, you know, bring an essential oil with you in your bag that you really enjoy, or light a scented candle, so that you can actually breathe something in that's lovely and sigh it out again. The sighing is a part of it, because that noise of does flick a little switch in the brain that tells the parasympathetic nervous system to come on board. And one of the easiest ways to do this particular breathing rhythm of a short in-breath followed by a long out-breath is singing. And you do not have to be good at it. In fact, it is a method I use really frequently in the car. If I'm stressed, as I sometimes am, that I'm got to get somewhere on time or something's going on, and I get in the car and I can feel that I'm really anxious, then what one of my latest techniques, which I learned from the master himself, Stephen Porges, is to sing. And you do not have to sing anything good. And I'll give you an example. This is the sort of song that I sing to myself in the car. I go, oh, I'm feeling rather stressed, and so I'm going to sing, because I know it will mean that I'm doing a long out breath and then only a really short in breath. And that was my very short in breath, and here I am singing again, tra la 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 la, and so on. As you see, nothing special about that song, but that movement, that long out breath that happens naturally when you're singing, and a short in breath because you want to keep the sound going, is really, really helpful. And try it out. It works. After you've sung nonsense to yourself for a couple of minutes, I pretty much guarantee you will feel calmer. And you might even have a laugh at the stupidity of what you're doing. So you will.
I was thinking that.
You'll get
turned into the laughing.
Yes, you'll win on both counts.
Yes.
So that's my second tip. Breathe more consciously. Maybe smell the roses or the rose oil. Inhale. Another thing you can do is just inhale anything that is beautiful around you. Just inhale the beautiful color of the pen on your desk, maybe, and then breathe it out again. And finally, sing. Probably not in the office, but if you're working for yourself, have a little sing. Okay, my third suggestion is to do with music. So we tend to operate on one of three channels: cognitive, mental, physical, and emotional. And when you're wanting to take a break from peak performance and go into your parasympathetic nervous system at the bottom of the ultradian cycle, it's very useful to change channel. And music helps us to change to an emotional channel. They say that David, who did not have access to Prozac, played the harp to alleviate King Saul's depression. And it's no accident that Apollo was the god of both music and medicine. They studied the levels of IgA, which is one of the frontline defenses of the immune system. And they looked at these levels in the saliva of a group of people who listened to a short piece of music and the group of people who didn't listen to any music. And though the levels of IgA in the music listeners spiked and stayed higher for several hours compared to those who sat in silence. So listening to some music that you enjoy in a little 10-minute break of changing and shifting your focus is an excellent idea. And funnily enough, some soft music has come on my phone, which is actually one of the ways that I try to support myself to create these cycles within, to remember, let's say, these cycles within my day. I actually have something that comes on my phone at a regular interval that feels like it aligns with my high and lows of activity. So that's an actual a free tip that's not in the presentation. So tip number 3, take a music break and listen to music that you enjoy. Okay, now, how cute is that?
Oh, so cute.
Pleasurable touch alleviates depression, changes your blood chemistry in as little as 1/1,000,000th of a second. The brain instantly responds to pleasurable touch with a flood of endorphins. But this touch does not have to be somebody else's. Great if it is, but simply stroking your own face or stroking your arm can really, really help the cells remember that you are a physical body, for one thing. So it moves you from your mental space into a physical space. And it's something that we really need in order to thrive. And many studies have shown that. And if touching yourself in a gentle way can be great. Asking for a hug if you're in a situation where there are people around you that you would feel comfortable with. But the famous Florence Nightingale, who was sort of the pioneer of warm, healthy nursing, she recommended having a bird in a cage. I'm not particularly fond of birds in cages, but there was no such issue in her day, for bedridden folk. And she sort of sensed intuitively that interacting with animals was health-giving and supportive. So a pet is something that is usually almost always available for touch or at least interaction with. And they did some fascinating research about pets and how they, even someone who doesn't particularly like animals, who isn't really a pet person, definitely gets a relaxation response and an immune boosting response from petting a pet. But what's even more fascinating is even just looking at beautiful pictures of pets, of cute animals, and stuffed animals work just as well. But there's one proviso: you have to be a pet lover. If you are a pet lover, supposing you're a pet lover and you don't take your pet into work with you, if you're brave enough, you could take a stuffed animal into work with you and pet that. And if you don't think they're going to fire you for being insane, that will have a similar effect on your nervous system as it would petting your own animal when you get home. So significant relationship exists between our attitude to pets and the changes in our IgA measured when we interact with a stuffed animal. If you're not a pet lover, forget the stuffed animal. It's not going to work for you, according to the studies. Connecting with physical touch, both with humans, with your own touch, and with a pet or animal, is my fourth tip. And my fifth tip brings us into more of my specific field of work, although as a pleasure coach, I work with people enhancing pleasure in their lives in many different ways. But my fifth tip is to connect with the power and the strength of your pelvic floor. And I'm going to play you a song. It's called Do the Kegel, and I hope you enjoy it. There's an exercise that every woman needs. It's called the Kegel, the pelvic squeeze. It's great at any age, let's make it all the rage. It's good for you, it's fun and it's a breeze. You can do it in the bank or on the bus. You can do it with the minimum of fuss. Find the muscle you'd locate when you don't want to urinate. And squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Do the Kegel, the pelvic squeeze. Come on with me, ladies, and Kegel, please. You'll adore your pelvic floor when you squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. You can Kegel when you're talking on the phone. We can Kegel together or alone. But when you're with your lover, this trick is like no other. It's guaranteed to make your honeymoon. Oh, baby, do the Kegel, the pelvic squeeze. Come on, ladies, and Kegel, please. You'll adore your pelvic floor when you squeeze, 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 and
squeeze some more. And relax. Now here's the really motivating bit. A Kegel will put pressure on your clit. And once you've had a baby, no time for saying maybe. Take my advice. Make Kegeling a habit. A habit. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. A healthy habit. Now it isn't just the girls I want to tell. Guys, this news is pretty cool for you as well. Cause when you're loving with your lady and she cries, no, stop, baby, you'll be glad you know this muscle really well. So we do the Kegel, the pelvic squeeze. Come on, everybody, and Kegel, please. You'll adore your pelvic floor when you squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Do the Kegel, do the pelvic squeeze. Come on, everybody, and Kegel with me. You'll adore your pelvic floor when you squeeze, 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 and squeeze some more.
Now, doing your pelvic floor exercises, doing a little squeeze, there are many researchers, most researchers agree that pelvic floor wellness is a key for a woman's lifelong physical, emotional, and mental happiness. And I would go even further to say that when we're able to connect with our pelvic floor, and we do so regularly, we are cultivating our inner strength, our capacity. It is physically, it's like our base, and it's when we can consciously and happily and confidently hold that base of our body, then I use that when I have a difficult situation. I actually hold my pelvic floor, and it gives me a sense of I can do this. So working with the pelvic floor has numerous benefits, and it's again something that will take you out of your mental zone into your physical zone. And the more you connect with the pelvic floor in different ways, the more you're able to create a really pleasurable sensation. Quite literally, one can have a no hands orgasm with pelvic floor muscle contraction. So I have run a program called the Happy Pelvis Project, which talks more about many possibilities for pelvic floor wellness. And I really encourage you just to find your way to one or more of these possibilities for pelvic floor, not just pelvic floor. Oh, I've got obsessed again by obsessed by the pelvic floor, for pleasurable possibilities during the day. And that, ladies, is the end of my presentation today. I'm really happy to chat a little bit further. And I believe we've got the exciting prize draw coming.
Yes.
Is that
Oh,
right?
that was
Yeah.
amazing, Laura Dory. Thank you so much. There's so much to be learnt that we're not taught about, and particularly about the pelvic floor. You know, that's just, obviously you said that you teach a really intensive course about it, and I think that it's really just brushed over on the surface, particularly when we have our babies as women, and you know, then they just say, oh, do some pelvic floor exercises, but we're not given in-depth information about that.
Yes, absolutely. And we also, because this whole area is a bit is taboo, and there is still, even in our supposedly liberated times, there's a lot of concern about talking about the genitals and the pelvic area. So it just gets ignored. And if there are, you know, a lot of women suffer from issues which are based around pelvic floor unwellness.
Yes.
And they don't want to talk about it. And the doctors don't really know a great deal about it.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a passion of mine to educate about the pelvic floor and about how powerful it can be to improve our wellness in many areas. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I'm just looking at the Facebook group to see if we've got any comments on there, because I know we had a few people jump on. Okay, well, we had Dana in for a while watching in the Facebook group, and she says, pleasure in the morning starts the day off well.
That's exactly right. Yes. But it really wants to be a conscious goal, I think. You know, I mean, we do so much goal setting in our business worlds and so on, and yet very few people, I think, have conscious pleasure goals. And so this is the sort of thing that I'm wanting to encourage women to do, is to say, all right, yes, I want to achieve this, I want to achieve this, and I want to be able to, at the end of the day, say, I've had 3 pleasure breaks.
Awesome. Also, I've got a comment from Lee Rutter, and she says, I practice Reiki, and engaging the pelvic floor actually gives the Reiki energy a boost too.
How fascinating. Yes, that would really make sense. I know in my martial arts class, we are told, my martial arts teacher is a black belt in God knows about 4 different disciplines, and she is a woman, and she speaks all, you know, everything we do is pelvic floor and punch, or pelvic floor and it's like it's the holding place of the body. So in terms of transmitting energy, Reiki energy, or any sort of energy, it makes total sense. That
it's really interesting. And Lee Rutter also said she can't think of any questions, but she loved the laughter segment, and she will definitely be doing this.
Excellent.
That's great.
In that case, it's been a very worthwhile time, even if one person is going out and doing some laughter.
Absolutely. I love that. All right, so we've got one person on the Zoom. Did you have any comments? Is it Gaish?
Gish, I know. Gish has just finished actually my Happy Pelvis project. So I invited the ladies along.
You can put them in.
Thank you, Laura Doe. That was just always beautiful to hear you. Inspiring. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Gish. Okay, so Laura Doe, would you like to tell us a bit about your prize? We're going to draw a lucky winner for your amazing prize now.
Absolutely. So in the prize, we have a a particularly wonderful pleasure tool. It's called the Honey Dipper, or actually I'm rebranding it shortly. It's going to be called the G Juicer.
Okay.
But at the moment we've still got the Honey Dipper, and as you can probably guess by the rebranding name, it is a tool which is specifically designed to stimulate the G-spot, which is one of the very kind of mysterious areas for many women. They're kind of like, where is the G-spot? I don't know where the G-spot is. Well, this tool will help you find your G-spot and help you stimulate it even without a partner. So in fact, especially without a partner. So there's then I've also in the package is a copy of my DVD, or a download if you don't have a DVD player. That's the Art and Science of Female Arousal, which is a seminar I think that you were talking about actually before at the beginning.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yes. And a 1-hour consult with me to help you make the best use of those tools and toys and information.
Fantastic. And what's that valued at, Laura Do? I'm just gonna.
Yeah, I think we valued that at $295.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. All right, here goes. Drum roll. A lucky winner, Rose Davidson.
How
Congratulations, Rose.
Yay.
I'll put you both in contact. I'll do an email to get you both together in contact so you can connect, and Rose can find out how to claim her amazing prize.
Absolutely. I look forward to meeting you, Rose.
Thank you so much, Laura Do, for that. It was a really fascinating presentation, and I invite anyone that wants to know anything more, wants to contact Laura Do further. Laura Do, if you put your contact details in the Radiant Books chat,
yes,
under your video, then people can go and easily contact you there.
Great. And if you happen to be seeing this and you don't know, the quickest way to find me is to go laurado.com.
Okay, awesome.
Which hopefully is memorable.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, thank you again, Laura Do. Very, very fascinating subject, lots to explore there, and highly recommend that, you know, people go and explore that further, because it is one of those things, as we said, that we haven't really been taught a lot about. So how are we meant to know? Indeed, indeed. Thank you so much, Leanne. Thanks so much for all your work creating this festival and the book. It's really kudos to you. Thank you. Okay, bye everyone. Bye.